Well, as you've asked me for a ghost story, I do have one rather curious tale you might find diverting. It's not precisely a ghost story, though. There's certainly no actual ghosts in it. So thinking about it, it's not really what you're after, is it? Hang on, I've got another one. This one's got loads of ghosts in it. I don't know why I didn't think of this one first. There were 3 of us staying at the lodge that cold January night. 4 if you count the housekeeper, 5 if you count me, 2 if you only count me and one of the others. Mansard, Woburn and myself had spent an invigorating day eagling on the moor. Eagling is a sport of my own invention, in which I, wearing a sturdy pair of boots with powerful springs built into the heel, am pulled down by my companions and then released, allowing me to soar into the air and snatch eagles out of the air. We returned home, exhausted but jubilant, having equalled our best ever day's bag of no eagles. That evening we sat up late, swapping yarns, and Mansard entertained Woburn and myself with his animal impressions, which made us roar, and also made him roar. As the clock struck midnight, I excused myself to see a man about a wee. As I was returning down the long passage to the smoking room, past the living room, the sitting room, the drawing room, there suddenly came out a piercing scream. Unremarkable in itself, but it came not from the screaming parlour, but the kitchen. At once I sprang to the door. I was still wearing my eagling boots, and I flung it open. There stood one of the servants' children, a mere slip of a girl, no more than 10 years of age, and no less than 10 years of age. She was 10. "Oh, sir, an awful face! A terrible, hideous face!" I stepped forward to clip her round the ear, but she dodged me. "No, sir, even before you came in," she cried. "There, at the window!" I turned and saw it. What I had at first taken merely to be a paper bag blown up against the window pane was revealed at second glance to be a hideous, ghastly face locked in a rictus of pain, although, on third glance, to be after all a paper bag blown up against the window. "Nothing to fear," I said. "It's just old Percy Paper Bag playing his old—" Oh, for the little girl had disappeared, as softly and silently as if she had been on roller skates. Just then the housekeeper bustled in. "Hello there," I cried. "I'm afraid the young lady took a bit of a scare."
"Young lady, sir?
"The little girl, is she your daughter?"
Why, sir, I don't know what you've been a-talking about."
"Don't you?"
"I'm diddled if I durst. There ain't been a little maid down here's parts for nigh on 20 years. There were a little maid, sir, but she died. She died! Will that be all, sir?"
Yes, thank you." Baffled, I made my way back to the smoking room, where Mansard sat in one of the wing-back chairs, practising his whinnying. "I say, Mansard, your housekeeper is rather a queer thing, isn't she? What can you tell me of her?" Mansard let out a short bark of amusement. Then, from force of habit, a longer bark, and then basically just woofed for a while. I turned to the window while he recovered.
"Mrs. Wool, you mean? Why, all I know of her is that she was caught in that terrible fire 30 years ago.
But I turned from the window and beheld nothing but an empty chair. Just then Woburn re-entered. "Woburn, what the devil has become of Mansard?"
"Mansard? Mansard? Why, Mansard died in a murdering accident 40 years ago."
"No, he didn't. He's been doing animal impressions for us all evening, and we went eagling with him, and we live with him, and he's only 37.
"Oh, that Mansard. I thought you meant his grandfather. After all, our Mansard is sitting right there."
"Hello," said Mansard. "Yeah, I didn't like to say, but you were looking at the wrong chair. I say, Finnemore, you're looking a little cheap. Shall I ring for Mrs. Wool to bring us tea?" "But you said Mrs. Wool was caught in a terrible fire 30 years ago."
"So she was. A really terrible fire. Barely even singed her petticoat. Never seen such a pathetic fire."
"And I suppose you, Mrs. Wool," for that worthy woman had just rejoined us with the tea, "I suppose you will tell me that when you said the child died, you meant she dyed her hair, her sundress, metaphorically, but not actually of embarrassment."
"Oh, no, sir. I meant every word I did say. But then I am mad." "I can confirm that,"
cried out the little girl as she roller-skated past the door. So where then, after all, was the ghost in my little tale? For it wasn't Mansard, nor Woburn, nor yet Mrs. Wool, nor the little girl, not even the face at the window-pane. And the only other person in my story is I myself. And it obviously isn't me. Do you know what? I don't think there's any ghosts in this story either. I don't think I know any ghost stories. Someone else have a go.